Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Silence is one of the strongest weapons you got. There are times in life when your silence will speak louder than any words you could ever say. See, folks think being loud means being powerful, but power ain't about volume, it's about control. It's about knowing when to speak and when to shut your mouth. When you're angry, I mean boiling inside kind of angry, that is the worst time to open your mouth. That's when your mouth becomes a weapon. And I'm not talking about no little knife. I'm talking about a shotgun. You start saying things that don't just scratch people, they destroy them. And the worst part, you can't rewind that moment. You can't say, oh, I didn't mean it and expect it to vanish. Nah, it's already done, already said, already felt. Now listen, I've been there. I've said things I regretted, things that hurt people I care about. And you know what I learned? Anger don't make you strong, it makes you reckless. And when you're reckless with your words, you might win the argument, but you'll lose the relationship. Sometimes we get so caught up in having the last word that we don't realize we just dropped a bomb in the middle of something we spent years building, a friendship, a marriage, a business deal. One heated moment, one unfiltered sentence, and boom, it's gone. Over something that later on probably didn't even matter. And that's the thing about anger. It magnifies everything. You think what they said or did was unforgivable in that moment because your emotions are on 100, but give it a day, give it some time to breathe, and suddenly you realize it wasn't even that deep. But by then, the damage might already be done. And all you're left with is, man, I wish I would have just kept my mouth shut. That's why I say, when you're angry, when your blood is boiling and your pride is pushing you to handle it, that's when you got to be silent. That silence right there, that's strength. That's discipline. That's maturity. People think silence is weakness. Now, let me correct you. It's easy to yell. It's easy to snap. It's easy to fire off a text or an email with all kinds of nasty words. What's hard is pausing, breathing, walking away. That's where the grown folks live. See, we live in a world where everybody wants to clap back. Everybody wants to say their piece, make sure they're not disrespected. But listen, sometimes your peace is worth more than your pride. Let me say that again. Your peace is worth more than your pride. And silence is how you protect that peace. You ever notice how some folks just talk to be heard? They get mad and they don't care who's in the line of fire. They just unload. Next thing you know, you're apologizing for something you didn't even mean, cleaning up messes you never planned to make. That's what anger does. It hijacks your common sense. It turns you into somebody you don't even recognize. And once that storm passes, you're sitting there like, why'd I let them get to me like that? You can't control what people say. You can't control how they act. But you can control your reaction. That's your power. That's your responsibility. And let me tell you, just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to express it right then and there. Emotions are temporary, but the damage your words can cause, that can last forever. I've had arguments where I walked away and didn't say a word, not because I was scared, not because I was weak, but because I knew I'm too powerful to be dragged into that mess. I knew that silence in that moment was going to save me from a whole world of regret. People always ask me, Steve, how do you stay so calm? I ain't always calm, trust me. But I learned over time that reacting in anger never leads to something good. It don't solve the problem, it just creates more problems. So now, when I feel that heat rising, I get quiet, I let it pass. I go take a walk, I pray, I breathe. And once that anger's gone, then I can talk, then I can think, then I can handle it like a man, not a hothead. Let me give you some real life game. The most successful people you will ever meet, they don't act out of emotion. They act with intention. They know when to speak, and more importantly, They know when not to. They know that silence in a heated moment ain't silence forever. It's just a delay, a chance to respond instead of react, a moment to protect something they care about instead of destroy it. So the next time you find yourself in that place that I'm about to snap zone, I want you to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is what I'm about to say going to build or is it going to burn? Am I acting out of ego or out of wisdom? Because once them words leave your mouth, you can't stuff them back in. They gone. They out there. And they got impact. So protect your relationships, protect your peace, protect your future. And sometimes the best way to do that is to close your mouth, walk away, and let silence speak for you. You know what one of the biggest problems is these days? People talk too fast and think too slow. Everybody got an opinion. Everybody want to comment, judge, or give their take on something before they even know what really happened. Social media done made it worse. Folks see one clip, one screenshot, one rumor, and boom, they all in the comments talking like they were in the room, like they saw it firsthand. Man, let me tell you, that's dangerous. One thing I learned the hard way in life is this. If you don't know the full story, keep your mouth shut. Don't speak on it. Don't assume. Don't add your 2 cents to something when you're only holding a penny's worth of facts. Because once you open your mouth without knowledge, you risk looking foolish. And worse than looking foolish, you risk hurting somebody who don't deserve it. I've seen families break up because somebody jumped to a conclusion. I've seen friendships end over gossip that wasn't even true. I've seen folks lose opportunities because they put their nose where it didn't belong and spoke out of turn. And all of it could have been avoided if they just stayed quiet until they had the truth. Now, I get it. It's tempting. You hear something juicy, you see a little drama, your ego starts whispering, say something. Don't let that slide. You got to respond. You got to make a post. You got to check them. But listen, your ego will get you in trouble every single time. Sometimes you hear just one side of a story, and it sounds real convincing. But that's the thing. Every story got 2 sides, and sometimes even 3. Your side, their side, and the truth. And that truth, it don't always come out right away. So you got to learn to wait, to pause, to let it unfold. Because when you speak too soon, you lock yourself into a position that might turn out to be dead wrong. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I had a situation where somebody came to me telling me what somebody else said about me. Now, I'm a man. I don't play about respect, so my first reaction, I wanted to call that person up, confront them, and handle it. But something told me, wait, don't move yet. Don't speak yet. You don't know everything. So I stayed silent. I watched. I listened. I asked a few questions. And what I found out, the story was twisted. That person didn't say half of what was claimed. Somebody else added their own sauce to it. If I would have reacted right away, I'd have messed up a good relationship all over some mess that wasn't even real. That's why silence is so powerful when you don't know the full picture. It buys you time. Time to gather the facts. Time to cool down. Time to think. And that time, it saves you from a whole lot of regret, trust me. Now, I know people out here love to say, I just keep it real. I speak my mind, and that's cool if you know what you're talking about. But speaking your mind without knowing the truth, that ain't keeping it real. That's just being loud and wrong. And being loud and wrong at the same time, that's a bad combination. That's how you lose respect. Silence is also respect. It's saying, you know what? I don't have all the details, so I'm not going to comment yet. That shows maturity, that shows wisdom, that shows strength. The people who can't stop themselves from speaking on everything, they're not strong, they're impulsive, they're driven by emotion and gossip, not by truth and integrity. I'm going to tell you something else too. A lot of times the person bringing you the story, they got an agenda. They ain't giving you the full story on purpose. They want you to pick sides. They want to stir the pot. And if you jump in without verifying the facts, you just became part of their little drama circus. Congratulations, You just got played. You got to be smarter than that. You got to train yourself to pause and say, I hear what you're saying, but I wasn't there. I don't know everything, so I ain't going to speak on it yet. That one sentence right there, that'll save your reputation. That'll keep your name clean. That'll keep you out of mess that ain't yours. Let me say this. People remember what you say, especially when it's about someone else. You speak out against somebody based on half the facts, and later it turns out you were wrong. They don't forget that. You might apologize. You might try to explain, but the damage is done. Your credibility takes a hit. That's why you got to protect it with silence. This applies to all areas of life. In business, don't make decisions or talk about deals you don't fully understand. In relationships, don't accuse your partner of something based on something you heard or saw online. In friendships, don't pick sides in an argument when you don't know what really happened, because once you insert yourself into the mess, now you're part of it. There's real power in observation, in staying quiet, watching, learning. You pick up so much more when your mouth is closed. You notice patterns. You see who's real and who's fake. You hear what's being said and what's not being said. But you only get that if you're not busy talking over everything. I'll leave you with this. Well, not leave you because you said no conclusions, but let me just say one last thing inside this flow. The older I get, the more I value silence, not just as a way to protect my peace, but as a way to protect my character. Speaking too soon without knowing the full story is how people destroy their own credibility. And in this world, your name, your word, your reputation, that's everything. So protect it. And sometimes the best way to do that is to just sit back, say nothing, and let the truth do the talking. Let me tell you something a lot of folks don't understand. When somebody's hurting, you don't always need to say something. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just be there. Quiet, present, and real. Now, I know that don't come easy for some people. We live in a world where everybody thinks they got to have an answer. Like, soon as somebody's crying or going through something, folks want to fix it. They want to throw out cliches. Everything happens for a reason. God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, at least. Man, please. Sometimes people don't want to hear all that. They don't need a motivational quote. They don't need a solution. They just need a moment. A moment to hurt, a moment to grieve, a moment to feel, and someone next to them who ain't trying to talk over their pain. You ever been in deep pain and somebody comes along and starts running their mouth with good intentions, but it just made you feel worse? I have. I've been there. Lost people I love, lost opportunities, had doors slammed in my face, had days where I didn't want to talk to nobody, didn't need no pep talk, just needed somebody to sit beside me and let me feel what I was feeling. Sometimes silence is the most respectful, most loving, most healing thing you can offer a hurting person. It takes maturity to understand that. See, immature people rush to fill silence because it makes them uncomfortable. They can't handle just being there without doing something. But a wise person, they know their presence is enough. They understand that showing up is more powerful than showing off what they know. You don't got to be a therapist. You don't got to have the right words. You just got to be real. You sit with your friend who's going through a breakup, lost a loved one, got bad news, and you just be still. You hold their hand, you pass the tissue, you make some coffee. That's it. That's love. That's support. That's what real people do for each other. We think healing comes from talking, but I'll tell you this. Healing starts with being understood, and people don't feel understood when you're over-talking them or giving advice before they even finish their sentence. When someone's hurting, don't try to hurry them through it. Don't try to distract them from it. Don't try to explain it away. Let them sit in it. Let them process it. And let your silence be a safe place for them to do that. Now, sometimes they might want to talk. They might want to pour their heart out, cry it all out. And when that happens, you still don't need to say much. You just listen. Don't interrupt. Don't jump in with, well, I think, or here's what I would do. Just let them talk. Let that pain come out. That's what helps them heal. Not your advice, not your lecture, but your listening. You know how many relationships have been damaged because someone said the wrong thing at the wrong time to a person who was hurting? I've seen people who meant well, but they said something that minimized the other person's pain, or they try to make it about themselves. Oh yeah, I went through that too. Man, stop, it ain't about you right now. Let them have their moment. Don't hijack it. That's not love, that's ego. I remember once a young man came up to me after a show. He just lost his father. He was torn up, could barely talk. I didn't preach to him. I didn't try to motivate him. I just put my hand on his shoulder and said, I'm here, brother. I got you. And I shut my mouth. That's all he needed. That touch, that presence, that silence. It said more than 1,000 words ever could. Sometimes people confuse silence with doing nothing. That ain't true. Silence is doing something. It's creating space for somebody else to be human. And in this noisy, fast-moving world, that space, that's rare. That's valuable. You ever sit with somebody in complete silence and still feel like y'all had a deep conversation? That's because silence speaks. It says, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to feel this with you. That's real connection. That's what people remember. Long after the pain fades, they'll remember who sat with them through it. Not who said the most, but who stayed the most. Even in spiritual terms, silence is sacred. Sometimes when people are hurting, they're talking to God in their hearts. They're asking questions like, why me? Or how do I keep going? And they don't need your voice talking over that moment. They need stillness. They need space to listen to their own soul. Your silence helps them hear that. You got to be humble enough to know that you can't always take someone's pain away, but you can sit with them in it. That's real compassion. That's what love looks like when it's grown up. Let me say this too. Silence don't mean you don't care. It means you care enough not to say something careless. It means you respect what that person is going through enough to not treat it like just another conversation. You ever been around someone who knows how to be quiet in the right moments? Man, those people are a blessing. They make you feel safe. You can cry in front of them. You can be vulnerable. You don't feel judged. You feel supported. And that's because they know this moment ain't about me. It's about holding space for someone else. So when someone's hurting, really hurting, don't rush to speak. Don't reach for the perfect words. Just be still. Be present, be real. That silence, that's your love in action. That's your strength on display. That's your wisdom at work. And trust me, people will never forget that. Sometimes silence ain't just golden, it's necessary. There are moments in life when you got to ask yourself, is what I'm about to say really going to help? If the answer is no, then don't say it. Don't waste words. Don't make noise just to fill space. You see, not every moment needs your commentary. Not every conversation needs your opinion. And not every silence needs to be broken. I've lived long enough to know that words are like currency. You spend them and you can't get them back. And if you're going to spend something that valuable, it better be worth it. You don't go throwing $100 bills on junk, right? So why throw your words out there when they ain't going to make anything better? Sometimes we feel pressure to talk just because we can. We feel like being silent makes us look weak or dumb. But let me tell you something. Smart people talk when they have something to say. Wise people talk when their words can make a difference. That's the real game. You ever been in a meeting or a group discussion and someone just keeps talking to sound smart, saying a whole lot of nothing, quoting random stuff, giving advice that don't even apply, trying to act like they the expert? Man, I've seen it 1,000 times. And what do people think when they see that? Why are they even talking? Because you can always tell when someone's speaking just to be heard versus when they're speaking to bring light to a situation. There's power in knowing when to say nothing. Sometimes your silence speaks louder than any word ever could. It says, I'm listening. It says, I'm processing. It says, I'm not just here to talk, I'm here to understand. And let me tell you, in a world where everybody's trying to talk over each other, being the one who listens, that's